Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Hooty Hoo KSU Football Podcast. My name is Griffin Nichols. I'm your host. Long time no see. It's been a while. It's been about 6 months. So a lot to get to. Well, let's talk about a few things. So basically, the last show was a wrap-up of the Myrtle Beach Bowl. Not the greatest showing by the program, but that's okay. Still got to a bowl game, still Conference USA champions, defending Conference USA champions as we go into the 26-27 season. Life caught up. And I don't know if it was apparent from where I was mentally the last couple episodes before the bowl game and after the bowl game, really kind of getting by a little bit, and then some personal issues have popped up, and I needed to address those to get to a better place, and I've done that. I spent the last 6 months transitioning into a newer life. Sometimes relationships don't work out, and that's okay. I don't think anybody wins in that case either. I think that all parties lose when that happens. But I also think that we have one life to lead. And if something is not working out, try to limit the impact that it has on your overall life or quality of life. What I can say is that all of that is now behind me. Transition has been completed, and we are ready to restart things across the board. I am happy, I am healthy. My children are happy and healthy, and that's really all I can ask for. So for my my ex-wife, I, of course, would wish her the best of luck in whatever journey her life takes her on. It just wasn't meant to be a journey for us to take together. So that's kind of what I've been dealing with for the last 6 months. So all of that is now behind us. So let's get to why you're watching, not about my personal life, which is to welcome you back. Welcome you back to the Hooty Hoo KSU Football Podcast. So a couple changes. One, kind of rebranding a little bit as far as just the look of the site and the channel. Kind of updated a few things in the background. Lost the Etsy store. Just kind of that whole drop shipping thing. It was more trouble than what it was worth. I had multiple people have ordered things. The company that was producing the items they ordered didn't follow through on that. Therefore, I apologized. I canceled their orders. I refunded them. And then I had to pay a price to refund them the money, even though the company didn't follow through on what their responsibilities were. And it is what it is. But what we're going to do going forward is, as far as this show goes, it's all about likes, subscriptions on all platforms. So if there's any revenue generated, that's where it will come from. At the same time, this is really a hobby. This is really more of a passion project, if you will. Looking around, you kind of saw a need, and I wanted to fill that need. I have a lot of reasons to address this topic as an alumni. As someone who's excited, 2014 to the football seasons being played, the Division II level, the success there, the transition to Division I, the 2-10 with Brian Bohannon, the first season in Division I, and then the transition to Jerry Mack and the success that the team had last year. So let's start kind of looking into it a little bit. So the bowl game wraps up. Okay. Now the rumor mill starts to be is who's staying, who's coming, the transfer portal, all that stuff that takes place with every college football team. So one of the biggest stories is that Amari Odom, who did an incredible job last year as the quarterback for Kennesaw State. Dexter Williams II as well did an incredible job last year for Kennesaw State when he was called upon. Both of them are gone. Amari Odom has gone to Syracuse, is now probably the starting quarterback at Syracuse, and Dexter Williams II has also transferred to a different school. So that's going to hurt a little bit, and we'll dive into quarterback in just a second. But that's definitely going to hurt. You also lost a good bit of players that made a significant impact. Christian Moss, that one hurts a little bit too. He's a wide receiver, definitely someone that Amari Odom had counted upon. Christian Moss ended up, where did he go? I think he went to Tulsa, if I'm not mistaken. I'm looking at my notes real fast. I wrote a bunch of stuff down today, so I'm just having to go back over it just to remind me of where everybody went to. So give me 1 second to just recap where everybody went to. And we lost a lot of people. Yeah. So he's at Washington, which, listen, I mean, what are you going to do? You know, you have the opportunity to go to Washington, who 2 years ago was playing in the national title. You take that. You go. And you understand. I mean, these kids only have so much time. So that's also kind of tough. But you understand it. Elijah Hill went to Kansas State. Brandon Best to Eastern Carolina. Josiah Chenault went to Sam Houston. Jericho Washington Jr. went to Boise State. Another big player. You get it. You know, Boise State's a big program, so I get that. My favorite name ever, Five Hampton. Man, come on. You could have stayed. Good old Five. He went to Arkansas State, which we'll see them soon. So we'll see if he made the right decision or not. But all that to say is it's a lot of losses. I think it was 20. Let me see real fast. I have it written down. Yeah, so there was about 27 different players that left for one reason or another. So now that we are living in the world of the portal, you're looking at Jerry Mack. You know, you kind of had to get on it a little bit. So 28 transfer portals were added, which we'll look into in just a second. You also have a recruiting class that was ranked in the low 120s, so like 122. I believe you're looking at about 18 different players that were recruited, which we'll get into in a little bit. Basically, flipping a roster, bringing in about 40 new players onto this team, over on this team that lost so many after last year. You look at graduation, players potentially going to the pros. You know, it's college football in this day and age, in the modern era. So all teams are doing the same thing. And like I said, as soon as you're successful at this level of Conference USA, in a group of 5, then all of a sudden, those Power 4 teams are coming for your players, coming for your coaches, and that's exactly what happened. So as a group of 5 member, you got to rebuild, and that's exactly what's taken place. First off will be Ricky Collins. So basically what happens was Syracuse and Kennesaw State just switched quarterbacks. Ricky Collins, former 4-star recruit, was recruited to LSU. Transfers to Syracuse last year. What happens at Syracuse is the starter comes in from Notre Dame, I believe. Is Notre Dame or Ohio State? It's a big team. Comes in, and he loses the starting job. Ricky Collins does. That player then, the starting quarterback, gets injured. Now Ricky Collins is the man. He plays in 7 games total, starts in 5 games. I watched a few of those games last year. I mean, I didn't know this guy was going to be our quarterback, and struggled a little bit, but offensive line has a lot to do with that. It's a quarterback, not being the guy. It's just, that's a tough spot to be in. And Syracuse did not have a good season last year. So, threw for over 1,000 yards. He had 6 touchdowns. He had 10 interceptions. Ran the ball for about 126 yards total and a few touchdowns. But this will be different. So it's not really about, this is your starter most likely, by the way. Ricky Collins is your starter. You would have to think. But now, we saw this last year. Dexter Williams starts at Wake Forest. In the middle of the Indiana game, which is the second game of the season, they make a switch. They go to Odom. And the majority of the time, if Odom is healthy, he is starting. There's a few games where Williams had to come in. He played great when he came in to help the team out and support the team, and they were successful. But both those guys are gone. So now you've got Ricky Williams as your starter, most likely. And you've got two freshmen that are coming in behind him, which we'll get to in a few minutes. So with Collins, it's really going to be about how fast do you pick this up? How fast do you pick the offense up? How comfortable can you be? It's a good opportunity for him to kind of show off what made him that 4-star quarterback coming out of Louisiana, getting recruited to LSU. So there is talent, without question. I don't think you need him to be Amari Odom. You need someone who doesn't cost you games, right? So the turnovers are definitely something to watch. But that's a team. I mean, it's a team. It's receivers, it's offensive line, it's blocking, it's running backs, it's all that stuff. So I'm sure that they'll create an offense that he is comfortable operating in. He looked pretty good in the spring game as well, which I'll get to in a few minutes. But yeah, so that's the quarterback situation as we know right now. Dylan Gary is he transferred from Georgia Southern, wide receiver. It's funny, you could definitely see some chemistry between him and Collins in the spring game, the lone touchdown in the spring game, and it was not a traditional spring game where you're having a scrimmage for 4 quarters. It wasn't like that. It was more like a glorified practice with some scrimmage at the very end. But there was definitely a connection in there, so that's good, and that chemistry already being established that you can tell, that's a positive. So keep your eye on Dylan Gary. Zion Booker is a transfer from Tulsa. He will also be a receiver, so we'll keep an eye on him as well. Offensive lineman. This is always big. Listen, teams are built in the trenches, whether it's defensive line or offensive line. When you look at the transfer portal, when you look at the players that are leaving, it's the secondary. Watch out for the secondary. So what Mac did was he really went after the secondary. So this is an offensive lineman, Mateo Guevara. He's coming in to Kennesaw State as an experienced offensive lineman. That's big. For defensive backs, you got Malachi Wright coming in from Duke, Tony Williams from UCF, Caleb Gary from West Virginia, Luke Evans from Miami of Ohio, Perry Fisher from UAB. Again, you're adding that many different defensive backs coming in. So clearly you saw we're weak in the secondary. We need to improve that. Now, here's the important thing, and I think something that cannot be lost. Your quarterback is coming from Syracuse. All those defensive backs are coming from big-time programs. I mean, we can argue about how big-time of a program a team like UAB is, Miami of Ohio, but it's still Group of 5, right? But don't lose sight of the Duke, the UCF, the Caleb Gary from West Virginia. I mean, those are big. Those are big teams. So you have that experience at Division I level at Power 4 conferences coming down to Group of 5. That's a benefit. So let's keep an eye on that. I love the experience. I love that experience from a Power 4 team coming to a Group of 5. I really don't see anything negative about that. I mean, you bring that experience of being in those larger atmospheres, those massive stadiums. I mean, each of those teams play in massive stadiums, or go on the road and travel to these big games. I mean, playing in Oklahoma, for example. West Virginia is also in the Big 12. I mean, that's big. Duke had a great season last year, played terrific. But you're going on the road to some big teams. I mean, the ACC, say what you will about the ACC, but if you're playing in Miami, especially the type of season that Miami had last year, if you're playing at Florida State, for example, again, 85,000 people are there. You're looking at Georgia Tech. You're playing some really good teams. Virginia Tech had a terrible season last year, but at the same time, going to Blacksburg, if you're playing a night game in Blacksburg, that's a significant environment. Those fans will show up. So, like I said, it's great to really have that kind of experience coming onto the team. As far as recruiting goes, again, I'm not too worried about national rankings. It's up about 13 points or 13 positions from last year. So again, that's positive. That's a good thing. Let's not lose sight of that. What I do like about it is you're looking at getting players from North Georgia. And that's really important. I mean, Georgia is heavily recruited. It's one of the more talent-rich states in the country. And so you're competing against the University of Georgia, which will take whoever they want from the state. When you start looking at West Georgia, you're looking at Alabama and Auburn you're competing with. When you get to South Georgia, you're going against Florida State, Florida, Miami. Ohio State can sneak in here. Tennessee sneaks into this state. They all do. But at the same time, we're recruiting people from a Georgia-heavy position, which is great. So the recruiting class was JUCO heavy and Georgia heavy. So 15 players enrolled early, which is exactly what you want. You want these players to come in, get conditioned, start building up that strength of what the college level dictates. Start learning the system. It's a more advanced system, obviously, than what's taking place in high school. Get in the weight room. Learn the playbook. Quarterbacks, Landon Barnes, Jamarcus Harrison. So those are our two depth pieces behind Collins, which obviously I don't have to be a Rhodes Scholar to tell you that if Collins goes down or he struggles, you're starting a true freshman at quarterback. That can be scary. But at the same time, it's been known to happen. The high school game has become much more advanced, and freshman quarterbacks have had some modicum of success over the years. I prefer not to do that. I prefer to stay with someone who has the experience of a Power 4 conference to start and lead you through this season, but that's what your backups look like. From defensive linemen, you've got Zakir Abdul Salam, Connor Coxwell, Mantra Sanford. So again, we're trying to build defensive linemen in skill positions. So that's a positive thing from a recruiting point of view. Again, it's all projections. Every recruit, you hope for the best and you just don't really know what to expect. But that's the recruiting class as we see right now. We'll see, right? More stuff is going to come out as we get through the summer. You'll start having the magazines come out. You'll start having predictions. You'll start looking at the schedule a little bit, which we'll take a look at real briefly. I'm not making any major predictions right now for the schedule, but we will start kind of getting an idea of what the starters look like, what we're kind of up against a little bit. So we'll start looking at that a little bit. Looking at the spring game, basically the spring game, I have a hard time even saying it's a spring game. The thing to take a bit away from the spring game is that I think that as a fan, you can take too much from the spring game. You really can. You can say, oh, well, this is going to be another outstanding, this guy looks great, blah, 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 and nothing turns out that way. So, so what you want to see is, does the offense look like they know what they're doing? Did they pick up kind of what the expectations are? What's the defense look like? What's the run game look like? Is there penetration? Are you blocking? All those kind of things. But the one thing for sure is that Collins did look comfortable. He definitely had a connection with Gary, and that was very nice to see. The chemistry was there, and the defense looked really fast. That's one of the things that I took away is the defense looked fast, and I love seeing that. I love an aggressive defense. One of my favorite things about this defense is that they were always there. They always showed up. They always played with a lot of heart as best they possibly could. When they were outmatched, when they went on the road and played at Indiana, the national champions, by the way. And by the way, as I said back a year ago, you can go back and look, Kennesaw State hung with Indiana for the first half. Death will catch up with you. But they hung with them, and they played great. They played their hearts out, saved us in so many games last year, just was a brick wall. I remember the goal line stops for 4 straight downs. I mean, there's so many different moments last year that defense played well. So expect the same from this defense. Play with a lot of heart, be fast, be aggressive. Just love to see that. With this offense, Jerry Mack is good enough to kind of look at his offense, see what skill players he has, and make a determination to put these players in the best position possible. Design an offense around the players that you have. Collins does not have the same speed as Odom. But does Collins have a more consistent throw and make better decisions than Odom did? Because Odom had the tendency sometimes to force the pass, to do those highlight reel passes that sometimes worked and sometimes don't. I was really frustrated multiple times last year by the end of the half offense. It made me crazy that just some risks that were taken when you didn't have to take risks. It just didn't feel. It's almost like everything you put together through the first and second quarter was going great, and then you just threw it out the window those last 2 or 3 minutes and a half. And it was never necessary to do that. Forcing the ball, taking yourself out of field goal range, taking a sack when you should throw the ball away, not managing well. And that was something that I hope with Collins this year, just give me some management as well. Pay attention to the game clock. Know kind of what you need to do. You don't have to throw the bomb when the bomb isn't necessary and all you need is a 5-yard out to stop the clock and get a first down. It's like those kind of decisions. Just decision making. Decision making would be there, but that also goes back to coaching as well. As coaches also have to kind of reflect and say, what could I have done better last year? Which I'm sure they did. I'm sure they self-scouted these things. So I'm very excited to see what kind of happens there. Looking big picture a little bit as far as the schedule goes, starting off the season, you start off with 2 teams in the state of Georgia. You start off playing West Georgia and then Georgia State. So that's pretty exciting because these are teams you're competing against for recruits. So let's go ahead and get those wins there and let the recruits know, well, instead of going over here, why don't you come on over to Kennesaw State? Third game is against Delaware. That's interesting. FIU is another game that is interesting. My favorite game of the year last year was at the Pit Bull Stadium. The Pit Bull Bowl was Vice Night. It was incredible. We got the win on the road at Pit Bull Stadium. It was my favorite memories of last year. So I think the must-win games are West Georgia, Georgia State, Delaware, and FIU. Those are games you must win. Must win those games. These are the games where I'd like to get a win. That'd be great. I'd really like to get a win because this is really the games that kind of dictate your season a little bit. Whether is it a bowl game? Is it competition for the conference title? Arkansas State, Missouri State, Middle Tennessee State, and Sam Houston. Those are games I would love to get away with 3 wins there. That'd be incredible. I think if you get 3, obviously 4, if you get 3 or 4 wins, you're talking about contention for the conference title. That the goal should be 3 of the 4. That would be the goal there. Then you're talking about the kind of where are we games, if you will. Tennessee and Knoxville on the road. I think it's an Indiana situation a little bit by that you're not going up there expecting to win. You're going up there, you're getting paid to go up there. You're finding out where you stand against one of the big boys in college football. The problem with those games is that depth usually catches up to you in the second half of the game. You do not have the same quality depth at a G5 level as you do if you're one of the upper echelon teams, I guess we'll say, in the SEC. And Tennessee with Heupel have been very, very good the last few years. Going into Neyland in front of 100,000+ people, that god-awful song playing nonstop again and again and again and again. It's a tough place to play, is what I'm saying. So a win would be the highlight for years to come, right? Program-defining moment, but unexpected. What you're doing is you're looking to show up, to show what you're bringing to the table, to make a name for yourself, and that's how you should approach it. It's not a conference game. So that's also something to consider. It does not dictate where your season is going to go. It's just a measuring stick game. Let's get to the two that we know are coming. Jacksonville State, a team that beat us once, and then we beat them for the conference championship. They want their revenge. That is always a very highly contested game. It's a heavy hitting game. It's a big one. The next one is Liberty. Liberty is still, in this conference, the team that has the most resources, if you will. Beat them pretty good last year, but still a game to pay attention to. So those three games are ones to watch out for. Western Kentucky is the last one. Western Kentucky was a team that definitely scared me a little bit last year. Turned out, didn't need to be scared of them, but still, Western Kentucky is consistently a very good team. You got to tip your hat to that team. Consistently good year after year after year. So we'll see. I mean, we'll see kind of what happens with that next year with the schedule. But, we're just getting started. We're just getting started with this season. This is the first preview in 6 months, and I described why earlier. But we've got so much to cover, and we've got time to cover it. June drags for sure, and then July gets here, and you can feel it. It's right around the corner, and it's just, let's get there. But so much stuff comes out now as you start getting into July. So we're kind of right at a great spot to where we can start having more in-depth conversations. This show's purpose was just an announcement. I'm back, and I don't plan on going anywhere. I look forward to taking this journey with you for a second season. I think that the question that we have to ask ourselves is, did Kennesaw State, did we build a great team last year, or are we building a great program? And that's really something that we'll kind of discover together. Last year was a great team. There is no argument. The question becomes is, can you do it multiple times? If you go back to 2-10 this season, which I don't think will happen, but if you go back to 2-10 this season, where does that leave you at? What does that feel like a little bit? It's like, are we starting all over again? Players don't want to play for teams that are always losing. Players want to play for teams that they have the opportunity to win conferences, they have the opportunity to go to bowl games, they have an outside opportunity to go and play for a national title. So just something to consider as we start looking into this season. There's been a lot of losses, but now we find out what our coaches are made of as far as what their evaluation is. So far, we have glowing reports. That's what we know. We'll see. We'll see what we have this year. In the end, I'm very happy to be here. This podcast was started off as more of a distraction from life sometimes. It became a little bit something more as the season was unfolding, and became something I really look forward to recording it. Life's a funny thing, Life has these ups and downs to it. And my best piece of advice is that you just keep moving forward. You just got to keep going, Find something that you enjoy. It doesn't matter if it doesn't reach millions of people. If it makes you happy, you should do it. The last 3 podcasts last year, I was struggling to get through them. It had nothing to do with the football. Right now, as I talk to you on June the 15th, what I can tell you is that I'm in a great place. I'm so excited about this season. I'm so happy to be back recording this. It's something that I take a great deal of pride in, a great deal of interest in. I'm so excited with this story. It's such a unique story. And I know I said that a lot last year as well, but it is. It's one of the most unique stories in all of college football. A team that's been around for 10 years, been in existence for 10 years. A team that started up and did a great job when they first came in Division II. Got their head kicked in the first year in Division I, but pulled themselves back up and had an amazing season, unexpected season. Remember last year I kept referencing that they picked us to finish last or second to last year, and they were wrong. And we won the conference. We are the Conference USA champions. We are the defending champions. No one predicted that to happen. So let's keep it going. Let's make this into a real program. I'm so excited to take this journey with you. So thank you for joining me. Again, like and subscribe. I will see you next week. Please ask any questions, put anything in the comments. I'll do my best to respond to them. But I really appreciate the support. Thank you so much. I hope this finds someone who's excited to see what this program can become. Coming in the door last year, it was funny because I had no idea. I had no idea, and no one did, that we were going to have the season that we did. To be able to turn it around so quickly from going 2-10 to winning 10 games, winning the championship, the conference championship, going to a bowl game, the first ever bowl game for this program. Incredible. I mean, that is, I couldn't have written it better, right? So now we start going to this second year, which is equally as exciting, but it's got a different kind of feel to it, right? We're not talking about as, can we win this game? Do we belong here? What we're talking about is, okay, you've had success. Now what happens? How do you deal with that success? One thing we know is Jerry Mack, an incredible job, and his staff last year of getting this program turned around and being successful in Division I. Now, what happens is, great, you were successful. So first of all, as I don't know if you remember, but in December and January, there were talks about him going to a different job, or teams were interested in him as the head coach because of the job he did at Kennesaw State. So Kennesaw State signs him to a long-term deal, so he's locked in. That's terrific. But also, because you were successful and had a wonderful season, now you've got these bigger teams poaching your players, now coming in and taking players away. What do you do with that as a coach? How do you reload and do it all over again? And I think that this is what this season really is going to be about. And we'll take it one game at a time as the season kind of starts going. But can you have consistent success? Was that just a flash in the pan, or are we building something here that is a longer-term program base? So that's what we're going to start kind of getting into a little bit. We've got a lot to kind of recap a little bit over the last 6 months. But as we start getting through June and then start getting July, things are going to start cranking up a good bit. June is pretty slow overall, so it's actually a perfect time to kind of come back and do a little bit of a recap over what's been taking place over the last few months. So let's go ahead and start kind of looking at that, kind of looking at what's happened the last few months. I've got a new seat too, so I'm much more comfortable than I was, because the other setup, listen, I was in a shed. I was sitting on a plastic stool the whole time. It was incredibly uncomfortable, which is why, if you ever watch, I was always shifting around, just trying to get comfortable. So much comfortable. I have a normal chair. I'm not in a shed right now, outdoors. So that's pretty great. For those of you who are just finding the program, welcome. I am glad to have you here. Please like and subscribe. We are on all platforms, both video, but also on audio platforms. Any place you get your podcast, you can find the show. Please like and subscribe. Please rate us positively. It only helps. As far as Twitter or X, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, all those things, all the video podcasts, this right here, this production right here will be located there all season long. The schedule that will most likely take place, I'm going to take a week in June 29th. I'll be out of town for a week going on vacation with my kids. But other than that, one show a week will drop. We'll have a consistent schedule. I don't know if it's going to be Mondays to record into the post. I'm not sure yet. I'm still working on that. But for right now, let's say Mondays. As the season starts to get closer, and as we start getting to real games, what we did last year, what we'll do again this year is 2 shows. One is a preview of what's coming. The second will be a conclusion of what took place. So normally the Conference USA schedule is pretty crazy. Sometimes there's Tuesdays games, there's Thursday games, there's Friday games, there's Saturday games. So we'll kind of navigate that together a little bit. But normally, if a game is on Saturday, I'll do a podcast and put it online Thursday or Friday as a preview for what's coming up. I will always do a wrap-up show on Sunday. That is pretty consistent. It was last year. So 2 shows per week when the season's going. Obviously, if there's something late breaking, I'll hop on and do a quick reaction or a quick recording. So yeah, that's the schedule. So welcome any new subscribers, anybody new just find the channel. We are happy to have you here. The idea of this channel is simply that this is the unofficial podcast of the Kennesaw State football team. I have no affiliation with the university other than I was a student there and graduated with multiple degrees from there. I've watched this program be built from discussions that were taking place in 2015,